Hi guys, I hope everyone's staying safe and doing well. My name is Victoria and I will be presenting on the anti-Vietnam War movement that happened during the 50s and the 70s, well through the 70s. It peaked in the 1960s. Um, so I'm going to start off by giving you guys a background story of the war, and then we're going to move to the movement and some tactics that they used during the movement. Then we're going to do the analysts and the course vocabulary, and then the questions. So let's get to the war and the summary. The Vietnam War was a result of years and decades of tensions within the country. Um, Vietnam has split into North and South, North being communist and having allies of the Soviet Union and China, and the South being more of a democracy, having allies of the West, such as the United States. In 1954, um, Vietnam had gained their independence from France, and they were going to try to unite. But the United States stopped this unity election from happening. They blocked it, and I believe they did this because they feared the whole country becoming communist. So in 1964, there was a North Vietnamese torpedo boat that attacked two U.S. destroyers in the Gulf of Tonkin. And as a result of this, the government and, well, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin resolution that allowed Johnson to deploy troops into South Vietnam to help them fight their war. And he was also able to start a bombing campaign in North Vietnam. So this war was very expensive and was pretty deadly. It resulted in 58,220 U.S. casualties, and I believe it was 25 billion a year that was funded to the war. And in 1973, the war finally ended with the Paris Peace Agreement. Now to the movement. The protests started off as small and were mainly peace activists and intellectuals on college campuses. The students of a democratic society, um, they organized and led most of these demonstrations and protests, um, to show how much the movement gained traction and how fast it was moving. In 1965, there was a demonstration in New York City, and it had like 25,000 marchers. And within a few years, it became several hundred of thousand marchers that participated. And these demonstrations were international. They happened in places like Washington to London and other European capitals and countries. So overall, most of these demonstrations were peaceful. Some of them did lead to arrests due to civil disobedience, and um, it's common with any nonviolent protest. Um, so another thing that this movement brought attention to is um, the racism that was happening within the Vietnam War. Black troops were being killed disproportionately compared to the white troops, and this angered many people in America, and also gained more support. Um, also made people support the movement more. Um, So even though the movement had like much of the Congress and media behind it, President Johnson still refused to withdraw from the war. Um, a poll was given out, and 50% of the population disagreed with Johnson's decisions on the war. In 1968, the movement peaked after the Tet Offensive killed many American soldiers. So this was done by North Vietnam. They came in and they killed many of American soldiers and many South Vietnamese soldiers. So some of the tactics that these protesters used were demonstrations and teach-ins. They taught at Michigan State on the Vietnam War, letter writing campaigns. So they wrote letters to Congress and to the president trying to influence their decision to withdraw. They had petitions, newspaper advertisement, anti-draft activities. Um, Young men would flee to Canada after graduating because they feared that they were going to be drafted. 40,000 men were drafted each year into the war. It's a bit excessive. Um, they also used tax protests because, as I said earlier, 25 it was 25 billion a year for this war to continue, and most of that money is tax dollars. So people would protest on how the government was spending the money. And the last one is civil and uncivil disobedience, which sometimes led to the protesters being arrested. So, to analyze this movement, I chose Martin Luther King and Henry David Thoreau because both of these men were known for being nonviolent and using nonviolence to create social change and social justice. Both of these men were imprisoned due to civil disobedience. And yeah, I just felt that them two fit this movement the best. So for course vocabulary, I chose nationalism and political identity. I believe that these two words played a huge role in the Vietnam War. I believe that the United States involvement was to stop the spread of communism, and they didn't want to pull back the troops sooner than they did because they didn't want to appear weak and as if the Communist Party had won, which North Vietnam won anyways. But I feel like if they would have pulled troops sooner, then they felt that other countries would feel that they could be communists and that they would defeat the United States as well. So I really just feel like this war was a political fight. Yes. So now to the questions. My first question is: do you believe that the movement played a part in ending the war? The war lasts for a very long time. I'm not sure if the movement played a huge part in the war ending because it lasted so long and the movement had started like in 1964 and the war didn't end until 1973. So, my second question is: the Vietnam War was a long and nasty fight. If the protests were violent, would they have been more beneficial to ending the war? So if people became violent and participated in riots, would the government have gave these demonstrations more attention and used them instead of basically ignoring them? And then my last question is, although this wasn't the first anti-war movement, it was the largest. What made people stop romanticizing war during this time? So that is all I have for you guys. Please continue to stay safe, and I just want to say congratulations to those seniors that unfortunately won't be able to walk in the next few weeks. I'm one of them, but it's all good, guys, and just stay positive and stay healthy.